All right, well, thank you for being here. We're right in Penn Station area, and we've been down in New York many times in the last 3 weeks. And I'm trying to learn about issues here. And we were learning about some issues of subway riders and the summer from hell, and we got some perspective from people that are traveling on the subways on a daily basis. But the most important thing today really is dealing with what was unraveled and uncovered by the New York Times. A great investigative report that basically says that the governor, who claims to be the person who was going to come into Albany when he first got here and end corruption, and he can't even follow his own rules. I mean, that is remarkable to me. Spitzer had a executive order that made it illegal to accept money from appointees, campaign contribution money, and the governor signed that when he was promoting himself as he first became governor as the person who's going to clean up corruption. Well, not only does the executive order say that no appointee, you can't collect funds from a gubernatorial appointee, he's got it on his website, which is remarkable. His website says, no state agency officer or employee who serves at the pleasure of the governor or their appointing authority or members of state public authority or other boards appointed by the governor may contribute to and or fundraise for Andrew Cuomo 2018. That's his website. So there's an executive order, his website says it, and he still violates it. You know, I've said this in many different contexts. Governor Cuomo does whatever he wants to do when he wants to do it. And whether it's legal or illegal or right or wrong. And, you know, enough is enough. We just can't allow this to continue to happen. You need somebody with integrity that's running the state government. And he clearly has none. So, the point of the matter is, if you want to be the executive-in-chief of ending corruption, you at least got to follow your own rules. So all of his new anti-corruption legislation that he's proposing means nothing if the law that he actually actually included by an executive order, he doesn't even abide by it. And on his own website, he violates that. So you can fool the people many of the times. You can't fool the people all of the time. And as this corruption probe and the corruption trials going forward, it's getting more and more obvious that he says one thing and does another. And he does whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it, whether right or wrong, or whether legal or illegal. And I could cite a couple other examples. The throughway signs. When those throughway signs went up, they were clearly illegal. His comment was, well, they'll never come in and take those throughway signs down, even though he knew that they were illegal. And so, well, Andrew Cuomo, they're not telling you to take, they're not coming to take them down, they're telling you to take them down. And if you don't, that's $14 million from the taxpayers of the state of New York. And even if you do take them down and avoid the $14 million, you got $8 million worth of signs, $8 million that could have been spent on transportation, could have been spent on the homeless, could have spent on anything rather than wasting money knowing that what you were doing was wrong. And it goes on and on with his economic development proposals as well. So enough is enough. You've got to do what you say and say what you do. And we've had enough, and we're going to continue this message over and over again as more great investigative reporting is done by the media in the state of New York.
So what's your plan to change the so-called corruption culture in the states?
Well, number one is you got to abide by the rules that are in place. You can't say one thing and do the other, and that's what this investigative report showed. And you got to have somebody. The best way to avoid corruption in the state of New York is to elect people who have integrity, not people who lie every time something goes wrong and blame somebody else for that failure. And so, number one, you got to have somebody with integrity that just doesn't say it that doesn't. That's the most important thing. There are enough rules on the books right now that are so serious and so complete that the governor's closest allies are being prosecuted. The former Senate Majority Leader is being prosecuted. The former Speaker is being prosecuted. So I think you can put all the laws you want on the books that you want. Until you have people with integrity, you're not going to change a thing.
What do you, if you're running for governor, if you're elected, would you not take any money from any of your appointees? Is that a pledge you're making here?
Absolutely. I mean, that's an executive order. I don't think there's any reason why. The executive order should go away. I wouldn't get rid of the executive order. I would just enforce it. And it's interesting.
What do you think Governor Cuomo should do with all the money he's already taken?
He should return it. He should return it. But more importantly, even if he doesn't return it, if he wants to amass $50 million, it doesn't matter, because these people are going to see through this, because his average donation is in the tens of thousands of dollars. The people aren't providing him money. The only people who are providing him money are those who are getting some benefit out of state government. But even if he doesn't return it, what I think is the most important thing is to admit you're wrong. What does his counsel say? Alfonso Davis. Well, actually, I think if I could give you a legal opinion, it wasn't really wrong, because these people were appointed for a term, and he can't get rid of them if they're. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's one thing to do the wrong thing. It's another thing lying about the fact that you're not doing anything wrong. So an admission would really make me happy. And you know what? He's never admitted anything. He's always blamed somebody else. So I would be shocked if he ever admitted that he did something wrong. All set?
Well, good. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. One more question. Is it an easy one?
About the tax reform, the Cuomo suggested to change the state tax. What's your comment?
It's a bunch of gimmicks. Let me tell you why. What he's saying is he wants to form a system that would allow the state of New York taxpayers, instead of paying their property taxes, because they can't get a deduction if the costs are more than $10,000, he's saying let the school districts start to create charitable trusts, 2,200 charitable trusts throughout the state, and then the taxpayers will then put money into the trust as if it's a charity, so they can deduct it. I mean, the federal government doesn't do everything right, but on the other hand, they're not that stupid that they can see through the fact that this is just a gimmick. I have already sent a letter to the IRS asking for a legal opinion as to whether this scheme would be a legitimate charitable deduction, and I'm waiting for an answer. And it holds true for the payroll tax as well. It would start a whole bureaucracy, but still keeping the bureaucracy of the income tax. Here's a guy who wants the local governments to consolidate because they're spending too much money. He wants to expand the administration and the cost of tax collections by creating a system that also is a gimmick, and it won't work. All right?
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.